everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Alert Alert. You thought we were done, but nope, we're back. The season's over, but the coverage isn't. On behalf of Silent Podcast or Anything But Silent, my name is Kari. I'm here with my co-host Josie, and quite frankly, we are not as important as the two guests we have here. We have Alex, and this will be the only time we call him Nathan, aka Nathan. As Josie sometimes called you Nate. You two guys were on a nickname basis. So, and his girlfriend Nikki. We are so excited to have both of you here with us tonight.
Hello.
How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, we're doing well. Just got off work. We're hanging out. We're excited to do this. Been taking notes, been prepping any sort of question I can get. So no, I'm excited. Loved the coverage last week. You guys literally put out into the world, oh my God, open up your DMs. And that's actually how we got this done. So let that be a lesson in manifestation. Just ask for what you want out there.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to the episode first, and then they were like, oh, we want to message Alex, but
it was them.
Yeah, but they, his DMs weren't open. So I texted him. I'm like, reply to them or something.
I definitely looked a couple of times because I figured that, especially with how things went for you on the season, I would not be opposed to you closing your DMs either. That get your hate mail out of here. Let me live my life. Please, brew is fine. So when I saw that, I was like, I think we have other ways of contacting him, but it was so cool for you two to reach out. It definitely, for Josie and I, we were like, oh my God, we made it.
There was definitely a FaceTime call for sure.
Yeah. I was napping and I didn't realize she was calling me. And I'm like, what is this? And I hung up and then I realized it was her and I'm like, what's up? And she's like, did you see this? And then so we were on FaceTime. So first of all, thank you for the kind words. We appreciate it. But more so, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Let's first talk. Can we start from the end and then work our way first? Let's point from
end to the back,
right?
Yeah.
So you had, unfortunately, the last elimination. You were the victim of the super secret influencer.
Spoilers.
So close.
Right. If you haven't watched,
what are you doing here?
Yeah, good
I'm
point.
Sorry,
what are you doing here?
But we won't pick the winner yet. However, we might find out a thing or two about how this season goes. Right. So in that moment, how were you feeling? Were you feeling like you had a chance of making it, or were you like, I'm dead to left here?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So in the moment, I remember thinking this is going to go one of two ways, which is weird because it's actually one of three. I said it's either going to be Frank or Yuling that gets blocked by each other, and if it's not that, and then I quickly was like, oh, if it's not that, it's probably me. I was like, because I don't know what's happening if one of those two don't take a shot at the other. But obviously they had a strong enough bond that they wanted to continue it. But yeah, in that moment, I don't remember the exact order, but as soon as I saw both Frank and Yuling, I very much was like, ooh, this is probably going to be me.
Mm-hmm. So something that you just brought up is something that we brought up on our last episode quite a bit. And I think it really wasn't at least obvious to me. And Josie is far better strategically than I am. So she should chime in and take this over. That to me in that moment, I was like, oh shit, this cast was never meant for Alex to be successful.
Yeah.
And we said that. And I know you guys said you listened to the last episode and we said that. How do you both feel about that assessment? Because Alex, obviously you got to live it. Nikki, you got to see what was shown to us, but in addition, you had the inside scoop from Alex. What do you both think of that assessment in terms of your potential success?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think that for me, when I was in the game, I didn't see that as much. And, you could definitely call that a flaw in my game, is not being able to read the room enough. It is definitely a bit harder over just text messages. Yeah. But I assumed, even though there was niceties, there was friendliness, I assumed that, people were still playing. There's a lot of money on the line, and that, at the end of the day, as nice as someone is, they're still going to make a strategic move for themselves. So while I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. You know, watching the season back, in the moment I get blocked, I definitely think I have like a very good fighting chance to win. Obviously, watching it back, I think I was more so fighting for like 4th or 5th place. So in the moment, it's you know, a lot more devastating than watching it now, where I was like, you know what, even if I had made that last one, I don't know I get much further, in all honesty. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, it was rough to watch because I mean, I've known since filming ended. He called me right after he got out of the game, or right after the game was pretty much over, honestly, and he told me that he was the last one blocked before the final because. Spoiler alert, I had my video message on the show and everything, and that kind of was like an indicator to me, like, oh my God, like I think he's in the final. I think he's in the finale. Like he's going to be a part of the final 5. So I was expecting that he was going to be in that top 5. And then when I heard that he was the last one blocked, I'm like, I cried. I genuinely cried when he called me about it because I knew how much this meant to him and how much of a once in a lifetime opportunity he wanted to take advantage of. So it was really rough for me because I was like, I feel bad, but he's at peace with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say she was more upset than
I think I was more upset about it, but I think you just had to put on like a brave face and everything, and you know it. Yeah, but it is what it is.
I think a big thing that we discussed, at least like on my end, I said one thing is that I feel like you felt the way you felt in the game because perception is reality and you only see what you know. And I am someone who studies communication, so I know that texting is not the most efficient way to communicate or be able to read something as directly, and it can be seen as so many different ways. And so I think we both don't blame you for in that moment thinking, oh, okay, I could win this, because at that point in time, it's like you only have what you have in front of you. And as someone, and we could tell that you were someone who likes strategy and who is devoted to the game and like loves the game for what it is and the strategy side of it. And so we understood immediately that it was like, oh, you're thinking really strategic. Whereas a lot of the theme this season was, oh, let me lead with my heart. Who do I like, or who do I connect with a little bit more?
Family.
Yeah. The vibes is what we use the vibes as a trigger word here because
gives me PTSD.
Yes. Every single time we're going to say vibes every single time we can, as much as we can, because it was so bad. So we definitely don't fault you. I'm curious to see, what would you have ranked the players if, let's say, for example, because honestly, I think it was between you and Everson.
Sure.
And so hypothetically, let's say you replace Everson, how would you have ranked the other players?
Yeah, that's a good question, because obviously I had given it a lot of thought while there. And I am, so I'll start from the bottom up. I would have gone Frank, Yuling, and then I believe I would have done Rachel and then Imani. But in my mind, there is a world where if I can justify putting Rachel at 1 strategically, I do think that's what I do. But in all honesty, I think, I give Trevor the win if I'm in the finale, is how that ends up mathematically.
Would that be because you think that Trevor had the least amount of chance to win, or receive the least amount of high votes?
Yeah, I didn't know that Trevor had such a good. I knew Trevor had a good relationship with Frank and Everson, but if Everson is taken out of that final 5, to me, I was like, Imani's not getting higher than 2 or 3 on people's lists, I couldn't see a world where I didn't know Imani and Rachel had that great relationship. And like I said, I knew Everson and Imani were tight, and I knew Frank and Imani were tight-ish. I didn't know they would be 1 and 2 on each other's lists. So yeah, I had a warped perception of what was going on, but in apartment 6B where I was winning. I was there. I was in it. Yeah, I was like, I think me, Frank, and Rachel will vote strategically at the end, and I think that gives me a good shot at 1 or 2 on a lot of people's lists.
No one else came in with a strategic AF shirt. It was just you. So
I should have known when they were super excited for me to wear it. I should have known. I was like, oh wait, maybe there's not other people that are as strategic.
I made it like a point to say it at the reunion too, or like the reunion too, that he was like the only strategic one, pretty much.
Yes.
I have to ask about the strategic AF shirt, because I was like, please, there's no way that he came out with the strategic AF shirt. can you please just tell me your thought process on the t-shirt and like how that went down? Because I
Yeah.
was like,
So
what?
first off, it's a Secret Santa gift that I got one year from my good friend Susie
fun.
Garcia. She knows me
Oh.
extremely well, and so I was excited to like just like the surprise of it for her. She was gonna like love
Yes,
seeing
okay.
that, and also like, you know, you're only on TV once. Like, I'm gonna ham it up. I'm gonna do it the most of it while I can. Like, sure, some people are gonna love this. It's gonna piss some people off. I mean, we could just wrap up my whole game right there. Some people are gonna love it. Some people are gonna be pissed off.
Oh, that's funny. Did she also give you the shirt that Trevor painted you in perfectly, or was
No, that was a purchase of my own, which is that is just so funny. And I actually saw Trevor this weekend, and I was wearing the shirt, and I was like, it's the shirt, yeah. So I just in that moment, I don't know they exactly air it this way, but I remember my train of thought is I was like, I want to be so mad about this, but it's like so accurate, it's pretty funny. I was like, the beard, the old man, and I was like, oh my god, and the shirt. That was where it like clicked with me. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, as someone who podcasts about the show and has to take notes, I specifically remember writing in all capitals, "Holy shit, Trevor clocked him." Like, it was perfect. I
It was
was
unreal.
astonished by it. Nikki,
And it
when
was
you
one
saw
of the things that took me down. Sorry,
I
what were you
know.
asking?
Nikki, when you saw that, what were your thoughts?
I didn't know that was gonna happen, and like he told me a lot of things
Mhm.
before the show aired, and a lot of things he did not tell me. That was one of the things he did not tell me until that morning or the day before when that batch of episodes were gonna drop. He
Mhm.
sent me. He's like, "Hey, which photos should I post on Instagram?" That production sent me because I'm his pro bono publicist / social media manager
True.
because he does not know how to use it at all. And so
That's how we
helped him,
got
like,
you
pick
guys
out.
here. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of had to help him like pick out what to do. And I see the still of him holding the shirt, pointing at the portrait, and then there's like a photo of like Rachel going like this or something like that. And
She's like, what?
where she's like, holy crap. And I was like, what happens in this? I had no idea. I was like, I need to see this moment. I'm hysterically laughing. I'm like, this is great TV. Like, little did he know that the 45-year-old man he was talking about was a 28-year-old like
45 at
over
heart.
here.
45 at heart. She brings up a good point though, is I obviously told her how I placed,
Yeah.
but she didn't know. She knew like some tiny details here and there because I wanted to keep it. It was a spicy season, the word of the
Yeah.
season,
He
but
kept the journey
Yeah.
mostly a secret.
Yeah.
But there, like I said, there were some things I
did tell her about the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
That
I
was
was
gonna
too big a
say-
I
secret.
mean, like I lost my mind when he told me that. He was like, "Oh yeah, 2 of the Spice Girls are on the season," and I'm like, "What?"
I didn't say it that casually.
What?
I wasn't just like, oh yeah, by the way.
But I will say one of the first thoughts I had was like, I know it's not Mel C because she's on Dancing with the Stars right now. So and I know it's not Victoria Beckham because
Could've
she's
been.
Yeah.
she's expensive. So I was like, it has to
Mhm.
be the other 3. But when he told me that, I was like, oh my God, like that is insane. And I will be honest about the Spice Girls. It did not hit me until the show was airing because I never thought about like, oh my God, what if they visited him?
Yeah.
But like, that thought never occurred to me
Mhm.
until that batch of episodes aired. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Do they go see, like I didn't even think about that.
I mean, coming home and going to your girlfriend, like, yeah, I slid in the DMs of the Spice Girls. What else do you want to hear at the end
Yeah.
of a reality TV show experience?
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a very funny conversation with the Spice Girls. Just be ready for. And this is one thing. Like some people, like especially as the episodes went on, you guys were talking about like the hate I received. As the episodes went on, I actually got less and less. Like it got much more positive as the batches
Oh, okay.
continued,
Mhm.
which was good.
Thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, but now it's just like extreme one way or the other. So, but when I first started, like everyone was like, "You're so stupid for not realizing it was the Spice Girls," and I was like, "They were playing awesome." I was like, "I regret
Yes.
nothing."
No,
I
yes.
believed
They were
Jared
so
was, yeah,
good.
I
Yes.
believed Jared was Jared wholeheartedly, and I am not
Honestly,
afraid
like
to
they
admit
were
that.
2 of the strongest players this season.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We wanted them
They
there
stirred the
longer.
pot.
They delivered. Like you can just tell that they had the time of their life in there. They were like, we
Yeah.
love the show. We are fans. We are gonna play so freaking well. So it was really great to see how like fun they were to watch.
I know the Spice Girls are listening to this, so I do have a formal complaint.
Fine.
Why didn't you show up to the reunion? I was so hoping that they were going to be there. And when they weren't, I
I'll be
was
honest.
disappointed.
I was really hoping. I
Oh,
didn't
I
know.
bet.
And I was just waiting. So when I come through the door, I'm like, oh, shoot.
Oh.
I had a little sliver of hope this past weekend during the rap party. I'm like, maybe they might show up. I was like, they're not, but like, what if they do? What if they do?
Let's get into this rap party because we do have questions coming in from YouTube that I do want to talk about, but I want to talk about the rap party because it's like fresh and new, and I'm sure that you haven't had any other interviews to get to talk about that yet.
No.
So from what I understand, you were in LA this weekend. It was the unofficial season 4 rap party, and we had some other Circle alumni there as well.
It was great. It was packed. I felt like I was like at like Hearts of Reality because I'm just like a fan of a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And so like them coming up to me and being like, oh my God, you were so good this season. I'm like, stop. I was just about to like gush my love for you. And you're now like, so that was like a very surreal experience. And like, you know, that's like a moment like you can't even like, I couldn't speak for a moment. I was like, oh, yes, thank you. Like you need to catch yourself. So yeah, it was really cool. Also, it was very nice because some of our cast has seen each other, but like we haven't all been together since, you know, we wrapped filming. When once we finish, there's like a day after where we do a press day where we take all those photos and we do a couple interviews. And so that's where we got to know each other. And then we hung out once then, but we haven't seen each other all since then. So it was very nice to get back together and just kind of celebrate like the season because before it aired, we were told from people that were like putting it together, they were like, oh, this season's going to be great. And I was like, I think they just tell everyone that. I was like, we'll see. No, but it turned out to be great. And so we had a lot of fun, you know, celebrating our successes this past month or so.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was also really cool to meet the other Circle alum from the other seasons, like ones that I've been like really big fans of or ones that were like my favorite players and they were there, got to speak to a lot of people like that. And like, I was
Name
actually
names.
I will say I was genuinely surprised that some of them I could tell if they recognized me
because of her video. But so I mean, we had a great time. I mean, we met everyone. So if we name drop, we're going to be leaving people out. But it was great meeting like Shuby, like James from last season was a lot of fun. I've talked with James a ton, so finally getting to meet him was really nice. Joey was really nice. Chris Sapphire surprised all of us. We didn't know he was going to be there, which was great. You know, a lot of season 3 showed up, and they're just super. They were all super friendly, and it was great. Got to see Sophia, Rachel, like you name it. Most everyone was there. It was great.
Yeah, it was a really great time. I'm sure, like if you look at all of their social media pages, you'll see photos from the rap party. Yeah, there were so many people there and so many other fun folks and everything. But yeah, it was a great time.
I'm curious, like, is that the moment when you realize, oh my God, I was actually part of the show? Is that the moment that really hits you, or is it during the episode releases? Like, when does it become so like surreal for you?
You know, one of the moments was like the first time you get recognized randomly. You're just like out and about, and someone's like, "You're on the Circle," and I'm like, "Oh,
you got recognized
I am."
A few times on the street.
Yeah, and so that's one of them. And another one, like this is like a very weird moment, but at the rap party, Mike Holloway, winner of Survivor season 30, was there.
We're all Survivor fans here.
Yeah. And so
he
he came up to me and was just like, "You were so fun this season." He's like, "You'd be great on Survivor," and I was just like, I can't speak. I just pooped my pants. Like, like no way you just said this to me. Like, so that was like very cool. And it is moments like that. You're right. That really like bring it all home. Like, oh yeah, like this happened. I went out there and I did it.
Yeah, there was actually this random guy on the street that was walking near us, and he pointed at Alex, and he's like, "You should have won." That was really cool.
Yeah, he was confident it was me. You know, not the, "Are you Alex? Are you Nathan?"
And like, winner.
Yeah, he was like, "No, I know this guy." Another one at the rap party, the real Nathan showed up. That was actually a huge hit.
Yeah, he was super fun.
So his real name's Max, whichever it took some getting used to for everyone. Which I know it's like 3 different names you got to remember for this one profile. But yeah, he was there, and that was a big treat. Everyone really loved that.
So is he actually your brother's friend?
Yeah, they were roommates, and so at one point during casting, I was like pitching being my younger brother. His name's Brendan Smith. And when just talking with casting, they were like, "Do you have someone that's like like more beefy. And I was like, I do actually. I know someone very well I could do it. I was like, I think I have the perfect person. And yeah, and he was excited. He was like, he's loving it. He's been so excited. He like gets stopped. He's in a college town, so he gets stopped like everywhere. Like he loves it. And he has a girlfriend, but he said like all his comments are like, you and Yuling need to date. Like,
oh no.
yeah.
Oh my God.
No, but he's loving the response.
It was fun to introduce Yuling to Max too in
Oh,
real life.
gosh.
Like I brought her
That's
over
so
and then I was
good.
like, look who it is. It was really fun.
Oh, that's fun. Well, you kind of talked about a bit like the application process. We have like a YouTube comment here, just asking how you got cast. Because they imagine there's a billion applications.
Exactly 1 billion. No more, no less.
I heard there may have been like 1 billion, 1 billion, 2.
We round to the nearest billion.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, so I applied. I was a fan. I've been watching since January 1st, 2020. And so I applied and I got reached out to pretty quickly. And that was when I was like, oh, this could be a serious thing. And so through, once again, my younger brother, Brendan Smith, he actually knows Jack from season 2 / Emily. And so he was like, hey, could you put in a good word? So I think he kind of, helped move it along a little, but yeah, I just applied like everyone else. And so that is like a big question I get all the time, because I think a lot of people, they see a good majority of the cast and they're like, man, that person didn't apply or whatever. And they do take applicants. A decent number of my cast, applied and just got reached out to. So if you're interested, I definitely recommend applying.
So
Never
we
give
mentioned
up either.
Yeah.
We mentioned this on our podcast, like throughout it. And actually, I think Nikki reached out and kind of like gave us some more concrete details, because it really felt like you were the only non-influencer on your cast. Is this a true statement? Not that you aren't an influencer now. Like you have.
Correct. Yeah. Boom, boom.
On the street, people are telling you should have won. You're clearly an influencer now, but going into this.
Yeah. So, I would say like Brew and Krissa had very large followings before the show. I don't think anyone else on my cast, Rachel has been on another TV show. She Paranormal Activity, ghost hunting. And so I would say those 3 had like, followings before the show. The rest of us, while I think some of them, had like 6,000 followers or so, like that would be the most. So while yes, they're in the influencer realm, no, they're not like all, 15,000 followers or whatever. Like there was people that were no, I definitely understand the sentiment because of the cast, but no, there are people that just applied and were not influencers beforehand.
Got it. Yeah, so I remember I was like checking throughout the season and I was like, this person has a ton, like Everson has a ton. Obviously Trevor's Trevor. And then I thought Yuling had a ton on Instagram, but I could be wrong.
Had a decent amount. No, yeah, she did. I would say like me, John, Alyssa, Parker, even Frank. Frank had the most of like the people I just listed.
Yeah,
but yeah, we were the ones that didn't have any sort of like decent amount of following before the show.
Got it.
That doesn't surprise me a little, because I felt like within the 4 people that you just named, you could kind of tell that there was strategy behind their game, or they reference something. Like at some point, Frank references Trevor first. He goes, "Oh, I recognize you," and so you could tell that. Okay, well, Frank has history, and I think he referenced something in his own loft. Alyssa is someone who was writing notes all the time, and we could tell that she had strategy behind there. So obviously there has to be game. And I do think John, in his own way, had his own strategy. And I felt like that wasn't backed without.
John had a plan and he executed on the plan. It may not have been like a plan that I myself would have done, but he executed on his plans.
Alex, you just took the words out of my mouth. Thank you for that. That's perfectly how I felt.
I mean, all the catfish, they got to have some sort of game plan going in, because he's mentioned to me so many times that like when you're in there, you just overthink everything. Like, am I supposed to be saying this? Because you're not yourself, and you're not supposed to be acting like yourself, and you're constantly second guessing everything.
Which, speaking of your catfish, I want to talk about the golfing, because I was in panic. I was rooting for you at this point. I was like, yes, Alex, like, go King, go. And then you get the golf question, and I'm like, oh no, because like I was like, oh no, he got it. And then you got nervous, and then I got nervous, and then I was like, no. there's no way. So I was panicking. I was like, oh my God, there's no way he's going to know this term. I don't even know this term. Obviously, I don't play golf, but I'm not pretending that I play golf. And I was freaking out. Like, can you tell me how you felt like in that moment and like what was your mind process? And you ended up getting it right, which is incredible to you. Like, hats off.
Yeah,
like
I can walk you through it all. I remember it like it was yesterday. So, you know, I get the question, and at first there's a moment of like, oh, like this is easy. Like this is not a hard question. And well, just to take you back before the game, I had a notebook of notes. I need to list all of the golf. I need to list
I was
just
with him when he was
all of
taking
these
all the
golf notes. Listen, so I had brands, I had professionals, I had golf courses near me, I had tournaments I watch, I had like just like general clothing brands, I guess, and I didn't have like the terminology birdie and eagle.
Nothing about the game.
Yeah, so I knew the terms, but then, you know, I'm just like, at this point, it's 50-50. I know it's going to be one or two. And in my head, you know, you can talk yourself into a logical answer, but you're still just like, that could be wrong. I think at one point I'm like, is this a trick question? I was like, is it too over par, not under? Like, I was like, really start overthinking it, and you really panic. And so once I like center myself, I say, okay, an eagle sounds better than a birdie, so I'm gonna go with 2. And so and part of me was like, okay, if I was like, I think that there's a decent number of the cast that may just take my confident answer and run with it. But then my panic was coming, okay, but I'm going to have to smooth it over with Brew if not. And there's part of me that's like, well, he does seem to know Carol's a catfish, so maybe this isn't the end of the world. Like, I don't know. It just was like a really weird spot. And so I'm actually in that moment really thinking of Jack when he had the makeup challenge. That's where my mind goes, is I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I need to assume that everyone's going to maybe think I'm a catfish after this. And literally by the grace of God, Brew tells me I got it right. Because even if he doesn't tell me I get it right, my game may have shifted if no one confirms. Because I may have been like, dang, I got that wrong. If no one tells me I got it right.
I just remember
our third co-host, Nitro.
I just remember that moment kind of reminded me of this one scene from season 2, not the Jack makeup issue, because he did get that wrong, but there was a moment where they were all doing a question and answer challenge, and Delisa was shown a photo of
the basketball
players. I think it was like Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan.
She had it in her notes.
She had it in her notes, but it was taking her a while to figure out who exactly they were. And but me being from Chicago, I'm just like, it's right there. Like, or they're just very well-known basketball players in general. So I was like, you have to know this. But then she was struggling. So I kind of thought of that moment when he was having his golf moment, although his golf moment was a little bit more like, oh my God. I will say that my dad said that when he was watching it in real life, because he's a big golf guy, and he was just screaming at the TV. It's two. Like, so.
That's what we're going for. Good TV. Got to get you screaming at the TV.
I need an official timeout. Sorry, I interrupt because I heard a key word here. Is that why you wore the Chicago shirt? Nikki's from Chicago?
Yes,
that's where
correct.
I live. So we can talk after some Chicago shit, but I was like, wait a second.
So twofold. She, while I was in Manchester, was running the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a shout out, like, you know, wish I could be there with her. And also, this is like my own like weird sense of humor. So real fans of the show know it's shot in the UK.
Yeah.
But for seasons 1, 2, and mostly 3, they intersect the shots with the Chicago skyline.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just here to perpetuate the myth that we're in Chicago, baby.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, no, I told him before he left, I was like, if only it actually was filmed in Chicago, maybe you could meet me at the Chicago Marathon, because the marathon happened. I know they wouldn't have let him anyway, but like the marathon did happen like when filming was like almost over.
Yeah.
From under my understanding and everything. But yeah, so that was like his little nod of like saying good luck to me during it and everything. So it was kind of like I was going through a big moment in my life, like running a marathon for the first time, and then he was competing on this TV show. So like we were both doing really big things in our lives at the same time, but in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Wait, I do have to circle back. Nikki, I don't know if this is true, so correct me if I'm wrong. But did you tell Alex to study the terminologies before and Alex was like, "No, I'll be fine."
So
Or-
I did tell him. I remember we were it was me, him, and his brother Brendan. We were sitting down discussing like workout terms or like, you know, because like
Gen
random
Z lingo.
sports
fair.
stuff. And
Just
then
sports
yeah, and
stuff.
so like, and he mentioned he was like Max plays golf, and so I'm like, yeah, I mean, golf's not gonna.
I was like,
come
I
up.
had a
think
lot
you'll
of
be
golf
fine.
photos. And so she was like, just don't use any golf photos. And I was like, yeah,
Fair.
you're right.
Yeah, and I told
And of
him,
course, the data breach happens. Like a first time twist.
like, oh my god, like
Gotta
I
be
just,
ready for anything.
I just remember telling him, I'm just like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I think that will really change the way people view their catfish for now on. Like if people really study the game, because I would have had that same thought process, Nikki. I would have been like, oh well, like I won't, because I get to pick the pictures that go on my profile, or if there's an occasion where something needs to be sent, I will send it myself. So to see that happen and the way it went down, obviously I kind of liked it because it like puts people on their toes.
Oh, it's
I was
great.
like, oh no, Alex is gonna, oh my god. So I totally get your thought process. I probably would have had the same one for sure.
It's fun in the moment because as a fan, I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, this is an amazing twist. But like as a player, I'm like, God damn it, what am I gonna do?
Were you sitting there when they brought up the safety chain antivirus, being like, you motherfuckers are watching our orgs, you're watching our minis. This is not an original idea. I've been doing this for years.
I said, I know where you got this
Yeah,
from.
no, I told Alex, I'm like, he's probably the only one in this cast who has ever experienced something like this
I
before
instantly
in a gameplay
asked.
world.
So yeah, I have like a producer, and I instantly asked. I was like, "Do we get to talk between?" They were like, "I don't know. I don't think so." I was like, "Okay." Too wishful thinking.
I can't lobby for you to pick someone, and with you promising you'll pick someone
else. Yes.
Classic.
I was like, I've definitely done this before.
I don't know.
No, it was exciting to see though, because I think it was the combo of the photo and then the safety chain.
Yeah,
It was a real like 1-2 punch.
I feel like this year was the year of safety chains. We kind of saw that with like Big Brother Canada. I was like, you guys have been watching our orgs. There is no way. All these twists are feeling a little familiar, just a little bit familiar, but we'll keep it pushing. Yeah.
I mean, it just proves that being involved in the org community helps you when you get when you make it, when you get onto these shows.
Experience.
Helps you.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that playing in well, first of all, I know we have people who are watching that are not org players, so we should maybe define that for the crew. So these online reality games, you'll have people who will like recreate Survivor, but it's online, or Big Brother, or make up their own, and we've all played them. Nikki, I think you said you've played them before, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually how me and Alex met too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I was pretty confident, but wasn't 100% sure. So, you get to experience a little bit. Obviously, it's nothing like being on television and there's money at stake. And usually it's just like something you're doing to kill time on a Friday and you have, whatever. But do you think that your experience playing these games was part of, well, we know it's part of your strategy, obviously, but like you definitely were playing the hardest. I don't think that that's like a weird or bold statement here, right? So do you think that that was a big contribution to your hard gameplay?
Yeah, I think that while going through casting, I didn't like expressly be like, I play these games all the time and I have experience, but I was able to hit on points that they maybe would like to see. I talked about like in casting, I was like, I'm going to do things people have never seen. And so like, I was able to be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Give me the opportunity and I will really shake things up. And, it's really funny, actually, just while I'm on the topic, and I'll get back to your question. I got denied during casting, like right at the very end. They were like, hey, so sorry, it's not going to be this year. And I was like, so upset because I had gone through months of casting. And then like 2 days later, they called me and they were like, oh, we're just kidding. We are going to send you. And I was like,
They called him at like 5 a.m.
I was like, I was like, are you sure? I like was confused. I was like, okay. But so every day I was there, I was like, I need to make the most of this. Cause like I wasn't even supposed to be here in the first place. This is all like bonus. And so I just, I do, to answer your question now, I think my experience in orgs attributed to my extremely hard and fast gameplay. And I also, so I think it was a pro and a con. I think there's times where I probably overthought situations I didn't need to at all. Because in an org, you will have someone who's like, I'm going to quit tonight, blah, blah, blah. And then they end up like idling someone out.
Yeah.
Like you get the weird, crazy things that you would never think of. But like in my mind, like when I'm out in the circle, I'm having weird, crazy thoughts. I'm like, is Brew lying to me that I got that answer right to put me in a false sense of security?
Yeah.
Like, no, Brew doesn't think like that, Alex. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a pro and a con. I was ready for things. I was experienced. I had plans and I could get a general sense of where the power was lying. And I think all of that knowledge, comes from practice. But there are definitely times I was overthinking things like a mofo.
I was going to ask them, like, did you see it as like the double-edged sword? But because I can see like, and I mean, we all know common people in this community, just like they're great at the games we play, but you're surrounded by 15 to 20 people who are also out there thinking the same way as you versus like you didn't really have a strategic cast around you. And so you're out there like wielding knives and they're there with like a paper gun, like.
So I think that's a really good part. And, this is not something I've touched on a ton. I get into it a little bit in the show, but the reason you just said is like a big reason I went in as Nathan. To me, if I'm like another player in the circle, Nathan looks like someone they're going to cast. Nathan looks like the hot guy who's there for followers. Like, I got a lot of crap for people who are like, the frat dude isn't the popular guy anymore, Alex. And I was like, that's not what I'm going for. I was like, I am trying to hide my strategic gameplay and make myself look dumb so I can, sneak by and extract more info. And so I got a lot of crap in the beginning. People are like, why would that you should have gone in as yourself or you should have picked someone else. And I was like, no, I put a lot of thought into this. Like when the other castmates see Nathan, that's someone the circle casts. When they see Alex, they're going to be like, there's something about this guy that I don't know. Why did they cast him?
Yeah.
Take the heat off of you.
Yeah. I blended in a lot more with a guy with abs rather than the banker who plays D&D.
I honestly, and we talked about this a little bit. I remember just speaking on the fact that Nathan feels like an easy person to just fit in, if that makes more sense. I feel like a lot of us have our differences and, and sometimes those are to our benefit. But when you're coming into a game where it's kind of a little bit surface level, a little bit more, and it becomes intricate with how players maneuver that surface level, those like small talk conversations that really lead nowhere. Until someone just straightforward goes, so who are you working with? So like I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I told Kari, it was like, if I come in, I'm playing a woman because it's much easier for me to play a woman, something that I am, versus a man. So I can understand Alex doing that route versus like Parker or John who are going really far out of their comfort zone. Specifically Parker, I was like, I feel like that was the wrong person to pick because that's so out of her range.
In defense of Parker, I will say that her idea of catfishing as her dad was genius, but the execution.
We met her dad.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we met Paul this
was
weekend.
There. The real
and
Paul.
So, you know what? I will say, while I do think Paul would have known what a memoir was, I do think Parker and Paul are actually pretty similar. I genuinely think if she doesn't have like those like public slip-ups, she could have slipped by a little more. But the memoir one was hard to get past.
It was so funny in the moment, especially because there was two people who were like, what's a memoir? Like, oh my. Clearly, there was no like literacy test.
Title?
What's an album title?
Well, it's funny because I only hear about that moment after the fact, and so I didn't. I was like, I just imagined Paul out of the blue being like, "What's a memoir?" I didn't know she got prompted by Krissa, which it makes a little more sense to me. Like in my mind, I had built it up as this like huge faux pas. Watching it back, I was like, that really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but obviously still very showing and telling.
Yeah, when things are that heightened.
Yeah.
It's hard to like miss something like that.
And you're always looking for catfish. Even it's so hard not to, because even if you don't care, you think everyone else cares.
Mhm.
You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And that was so interesting because I feel like a lot of the cast, and this is something we talked about. I get really previous seasons specifically bothered me that people were just so for going after catfish, even if they
Yeah.
benefited their own game. That was
Mhm.
something that always peeved me. And so when we talked, like when we did our first coverage or anything, I was like, I just really hope people forget that whole let's catch catfish thing and let's work with the catfish if it benefits you.
You
And I
got
feel
to
like
wish a
this is
little.
yes, and
Yeah.
that's what was so great about this season. I feel like I think Brew was the one person who vocalized it the
Yeah.
most.
Mhm.
But I feel like there are remnants of that a little bit.
Yuling and
within the cast.
Alyssa, Yuling and Alyssa didn't block Carol, even though they were very much like Carol's a
Yes.
catfish. So there is sentiment about it. I just to touch on this, it's not directly related to your point, but I do think it's funny that Brew's game was like the two opposite ends of catfish. Like him and his relationship with John, it was genuine. Like he was like, I know she's a catfish, I don't care. Whereas me, he like waffled, and then he eventually was like, not a catfish, and I was like the downfall of his game. So
Yeah.
it is interesting to see. And so there's part of me that's like, I hope I don't give catfish a bad name in the future. Like I'm afraid I could have like branded all catfish as a liar.
I don't think so. I think if anything, your game is gonna make people want to. Maybe more people will become catfish, or they'll see it as like a fun challenge.
It is fun. It is fun. That's the thing.
Especially when you're being someone who is so opposite of you. Like if I was going to go on the circle, I would want to be catfish. Absolutely. I think that is, anything that's a challenge for myself, I'm up for it. Sign me up. I think that's great. And also it might help other kinds of more gamey kind of people who are more into the strategy of the game to think of how am I going to work with this?
This is the next Trevor DeLisa. We already had Alex on.
You
Now
said it, not
here's
me.
your preseason
manifesting.
Your preseason season 5 interview with Nikki, one of the contestants from next season.
That would be exciting.
Circle.
We would love that. We've talked about it. And she's like, I'll catfish as you. And I was like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
you know the
I mean,
reputation I just gave myself.
He just said he's hiding something behind those clear glasses.
I still wouldn't mind it. I still wouldn't mind it either. I do agree that it would put if I did catfish as him, it would be a huge threat. But then again, what if I'm put in? So it's a challenge. But then again, what if I'm put in with other people who have not seen the show before and they don't really
Which
know?
happens sometimes. I do think our cast is one of the casts that had seen a lot. There are definitely some people who had not, but of majority of the cast, they had seen a lot of it, and so I appreciated that. And because I'm just a fan. Like as soon as I get with these people, I want to like fan out with them, and so it's nice that they're at least big fans of the show too.
Yeah, you could tell in that the dinner, not dinner that I like to call it.
Yes,
that's
the
fact that they don't serve food.
I don't get it.
I know.
We went on like
set it up.
Take the plates away. Take the plates away.
Yeah, just you can sit at a table without plates.
With just drinks.
Like,
just
why
drinks.
do they?
Just
you
drinks.
have another centerpiece or something. Like why do they set it up to make it look like they're
It's
gonna
so
eat?
funny to me.
At least give some.
And they
bread,
don't eat. I can confirm they don't eat. They didn't eat, and they didn't show it. Yeah, there was no eating.
But
I would be hungry. Just
same. You could tell from especially not Trevor, Frank's reaction to Trevor that he had like you saw the gears turning like oh shit, I know that guy. And they're like, you are so and so. And especially that final anti-dinner, you could tell that there was at least some people who had watched some seasons before. And we had talked about that, and you kind of touched on it, I think, Nikki, of like, well, where does this go going forward? Like, Alex, do you have an impact in terms of how you played the game? Are we going to see more people try to come in and like be strategic AF, or like do we see that Frank wins and so it really is about, are they going to try and even cast more people that are similar to Frank? Are we going to get more of a divide? And I mean, we know Nikki is on next season, so aside from Nikki's potential character, where do we see the future of the circle going?
That's a good question. I think where I see it is it will be a mix of both. I think this season was an honest attempt at mix at both, where, the heart just kind of won out. But I do think, what they had in mind was, a lot of very strategic thinkers that are playing hard and, people that are genuinely being themselves also. So a good mix. So I like to believe that's where it's heading. And, just for anyone who is listening, who like is possibly a fan, the ratings are not that hard mathematically. If you just attribute every rating to a score, whoever has the highest score is in last place and whoever has the lowest score is in first. It's not difficult to figure out like the math. And obviously there's some predictive nature. You got to try to guess who's ranking who where. And so it's just more so for me, I love the game and the connections that are made in there. And that's probably where I needed to be a bit more. What I would love to see is, a little more focus on the numbers and the next round, not just what this round has brought you. And so it doesn't need to be hyper cutthroat and strategic, manipulative, what have you, but would love to see people just thinking about those ratings and the numbers. Cause I think we'll see a lot of interesting stuff when that starts happening.
And I also think that moving forward, they need to have more people or more players who are not afraid to lie more often too. Because I mean, obviously catfishing, you are already lying, but I want to bring up his lie about Alyssa, which ultimately was her demise. That was
I don't know. It ultimately was her demise.
It
played a part. It played a part. It was not the sole reason.
But I thought that was genius. I thought that making up that lie was pretty genius because it got the eyes off of him and the eyes onto Alyssa. And a lot of people, in my opinion, I think a lot of casual fans, they're like, that's mean. Oh, who cares? You're watching a reality TV show, for God's sake. Come on. Everyone's going to be mean at some point. If everyone was nice to each other, then the show would have been canceled 4 seasons ago. Come on.
I love that you referenced that move specifically because I thought it was brilliant. I think that's the best way to utilize those games, and it kind of changed
anonymous mode.
I definitely want to talk about anonymous mode because I feel like that is the part of the show, and Kari knows this. That's my favorite part of the show because I'm like, this is when people can be strategic and just throw dirt, get a little nasty, put some shine.
My name's not on it. And I even double checked. I was like, there's no chance this gets revealed, right? I go, because that changes what I'm about to do if there's a chance. They're like, no, if we say it's anonymous, it's anonymous. And I was like, all right, here we go then.
Yeah, so I love the anonymous, and that move specifically I think was so brilliant because I think Alyssa was in such a good place at that point. And for you to do that, even though some people were like, no, it's not Alyssa, whatever, it did really attribute. And another anonymous mode that I did want to talk about was the snake, because I am an avid Circle UK watcher, and it just reminded me of Manrika.
Warm your heart, yeah. That's what I was going for.
It brought a smile to my face, tears in my eyes. It was one of my favorite moments. I was like, yes, I know that could seem so bad of me, but I think that's so fun. I loved Frank. I loved watching Frank. Frank reminds me of Friends from Home.
Absolute
icon, king. But I was just like, you know what? Frank has been number 1 or number 2 these last 5-10 weeks. And so why not, put this target more clear to the eyes of the other house guests? What was your thought process when you got Frank? Were you immediately just snake, or were you thinking about it and that's what you
no, that's actually a good question. I did think about it a little. Quickly, I knew I couldn't paint people, so that was kind of out of the window. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do here that's just not a person? Because there was one where I had him in my head, literally stabbing someone in the back. And I was like, probably can't do that, actually. I was like, I don't know why that's where my mind went. But so to me, the whole, I start backwards. I go, what do I want the other players to get from my painting? What do I want them to get from my question? And in my mind, Frank had made a lot of decisions, people to save, people to block, what have you. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, if you have decisions to make, maybe there are people that, you should have saved that you didn't. And I want people to think maybe his allegiance is spread really thin and I don't know it. And so I was like, Snake makes him seem sneaky, bring up the Mr. Popular because he keeps winning week after week. And the backstabber, to me, like I said, that was probably where my mind, I was like, I want someone to think that he, in my mind, there was the Brew thing that Brew had told me about him and Paul, don't trust Frank. There was also Everson not getting saved, where he saved Rachel and then Amani. And I was like, man, Everson just gave you safety. So in my mind, there was plausible people to blame it on also.
No, that makes sense.
The Europe one I really liked, though, because in my mind, I was like, she can only respond one way. And while to be fair, she did like crush the response. Like she really did well. Though. In my mind, though, it is always going to leave like that place of doubt in people's mind, though. Is they're like, man, is everything she said to me a lie? You know what I mean? And so at that moment, too, when I have to craft the question, I only know that Everson and Amani are giving safety. I don't actually know it's about to be a chain. In my mind, I thought they were each about to save 3 people, and it was odd man out. I don't know why that was where my mind went. And so it was almost like I like predicted the next round almost, where Frank and Yuling have to save a couple people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so in my mind, it was all like just too placed out in Everson and Amani's mind. I was like, they don't know her very well. And if they think like she's got, in my mind, it was don't let Everson and Amani give Alyssa safety.
I also just thought that her response to it was like one of the worst responses you could have gave, because she spelled out her gameplay. She was like,
I write notes all the time.
I meant the glasses. The part where she goes like, you can see my ex-boyfriend. Like that level of detail actually is good. Yeah. But yeah, I said the same thing and they kind of cut it out. I go, she handled the response well, but she showed her hand. She showed how hard she's playing.
Like if she had just left it at the details and like, she could have just said like, ask me anything about these trips or whatever, like, but instead being like, I'm over here writing down every single word each of you says, like, I am absolutely, she just showed like how far into it she is over people like Frank, who have like the cloth thing on him and is like shimmying around, which we love. Like it worked for him. But
you need both. You need all of it to make a good show.
And so when she said that, I was just like, girl, like you're letting them know. What are you doing there?
And so I don't get to see the other players' responses. I don't get to see her response. So in my apartment, I'm like, hope this worked. And so, you know what I mean? It's fun watching their responses back live. And like I said, when I read her message back, I was like, okay, this was a good response on her part, but she did show too much info. So I was right there on the same page with you. That was kind of what I was thinking. But in the moment, I was like, don't know if this worked or not. I literally had no response gauge. It's really interesting to, you know what I mean? Because as soon as she finishes reading it, you get 2 people, whereas I'm just like sitting in my apartment, like twiddling my thumbs.
In silence.
It's different in that manner. But that's why it's fun watching back is like, I only have my experience of it all. And so this like fills in so many gaps, so many things. And it's really fun to watch it back in that manner.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what was the best and what was the worst part about watching the series? And Nikki, you too, because like you obviously had information besides obviously Alex getting blocked. I'm sure watching that in real time, because like Alex, you looked, I'm not a very emotional person, but I was like legit sad for you. I'm like,
it's a sad moment.
He wanted it. And especially because, I mean, like, I saw where your mind was going of the let me be like the least level threat. Like, not to nerd out too much, but I'd played an online circle game. And the only reason I won was because I was in that, like, that 5th spot where they all had an alliance. And then it's like, everyone used me as their, like, I'll throw her up first. And here I am walking out with my cool little, like, self emoji that they gave me as a prize. It's the sickest emoji on the internet. I'm sitting in, like, a throne with a crown on. But anyway, I digress. It's on Discord. Follow me there. So,
you get my plan then. You know exactly where I'm going.
It makes total sense.
We talked about it. I'm like, it makes complete sense if you're with people who are also playing not strategic. Just going to like vote with their heart and vote strategically. So no, we get that. But what was the best and worst part of watching the series back?
I don't know the best one, but probably the most first like interesting big one that was really shocking to me was to learn that the Spice Girls were not an original player. Like, so I come in and me and Rachel make 9. So I assume, okay, 1 person left. That was the original 8 people. That was it. But they only started with 7. So I'm not going to lie. If they had thrown me in early, I think there's no doubt in my mind. I think that the Spice Girls are Jared, because he came in such a weird way.
Yeah,
he came in before the blocking, but after the ratings, but before the block. It was super weird. And so in my mind, I really think I would have been like, oh yeah, I think this is Jared. So that one was interesting. That wasn't like fun or cool to see. I do know the hardest one to sit watching back was so in the order of events from my perspective is there's the data breach, and then Brew tells me that, hey, you should watch out for Frank. Me, him, and Paul were in a group chat, the 3 Musketeers, and Frank went on to block Paul. And I was like, oh, this is juicy tea. So in the back of my head, I'm always like, this is something I could save. This is good. I didn't know Brew and Frank were freaking best buds on the side.
And they had that
So they almost instantly after
heart.
Brew has a chat with me, they have like a very deep heart to heart. And if I know or see anything like that, I do wonder if I take maybe a different approach talking to Frank about Brew, because what I am telling him probably seems like very blindsiding, shocking news.
Yeah.
Where in my mind, this is someone he doesn't talk with a ton, and it shouldn't be that surprising to him. So that was hard to see, like almost right after Brew told me, hey, watch out for him. Like they become like best friends almost instantly after that.
Yeah.
To be, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for you, to be fair, because, and this is why Brew's strategy was so hard for me to understand, and it actually has to do with a moment with you, because there's a conversation between the throuple between Alyssa, Yuling, and they're talking about you, and Brew kind of like pushes you under the bus, kind of, or like
he doesn't want me in the throuple,
and then he's like, but Nathan's my number one guy. I'm like, okay, well, I don't understand why you just did that. And then we have this exchange with you two later, and it's like, oh, we're bros. And he kind of tries to put Yuling under the bus, but then he's like hurt that she doesn't save him because he thinks Yuling and him are so close. And so we kind of had that same situation with you, Frank, and him. So I can understand why you felt like that would be the move, because at that point, Brew was kind of like throwing his allies under the bus, but I don't know if he was doing it intentionally or not.
Yeah.
But it came across that way. So I don't blame you for being like, well, I got this information, which props to you, because I feel like a lot of people just give information out all the time and don't know when to keep it and use it against them. And I think the way you did that, I was like geeked out. I was like, yes, that was so smart. That was like, I literally like would not have expected that. Like I literally forgot about Paul at that point.
Yeah, and so I brought it back in the couple last episodes. I told Parker this too. I was like, hey, I'm talking about you in one of those last couple episodes.
Which is so cool. So I can't put to, like, I get where you're coming from, but also again, like we said, perspective is reality. So to be fair, you know, he just threw Frank under the bus like he did a lot of his allies throughout the season.
I think Brew was trying to do what I did too, is he wanted his relationship stronger with himself than other people. I think it is funny though, like my first part of the game was I didn't know about the throuple until after the game. And so my first part of the game is I was like, oh, I can make this a foursome, like a double date, not knowing they're already a trio. And so my first part of the game is trying to break into the throuple. And then my second half of the game is trying to break into the inner trust circle. And it's just like all off of pieces of info that I've gathered. And so that was like really rewarding to see, like, oh, my suspicion of Frank, Rachel, and Yuling was 100% correct. Like, that was fun to watch, like, because in that conversation with Frank, I like really reiterate to him, I was like, you know, I was worried because Brew told me this early, but I needed to trust like Yuling and Rachel. Like they were the ones telling me, like, I wanted him to be like, oh, we have mutual friends, like kind of deal. And so they didn't really show that part of it, but it was all like, I mean, it's not to sound lame, it was all very calculated. I very much was like, I'm going to be mentioning people's names and like events and things that, like, the Paul thing, like you mentioned, I wasn't there. There's no reason I would have known about their group chat or Frank blocking Paula being a big deal. And so that's why it's like important I mentioned that to Frank, because otherwise I could just be making this crap up. Oh, Brew doesn't trust you. Here, Brew doesn't trust you because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. No, that definitely, I didn't even think of it in terms of like, oh, how that helps make it more valid than you
credible.
Yeah, that's really, really important.
Because I'm always thinking, like, is this a lie? But apparently not everyone else always is.
Nikki, what were your favorite and least favorite? Don't worry, I didn't forget about you.
Okay. We're here for you, Queen. We got your questions coming up, I swear.
Yeah, no, I was gonna circle back to your question on that. But definitely my favorite part was I'm really glad I got this on video, but I recorded Alex's reaction to watching the trailer for the first time, because
that's cool.
Like I immediately when it dropped that Wednesday morning, where we're like, let's watch it together. But then I'm recording his reaction, and then when you see his face for the first time, he's like, oh my God. And so I did the same thing for when he first came on screen. I mean, like we watch it on our TV, our big TV over here, Netflix, like this is huge. You know, he's
It's
on
also-
Netflix.
It's midnight for us.
Yeah, we watched all
them
the
at
episodes
midnight.
right when they dropped at midnight. I mean, we're on the West Coast, so we didn't have to stay up till like 3 a.m. or anything, but it was a really cool experience just to see his reaction to being on TV and like on an international streaming service. Like anyone from the entire world can watch this, and that's just so mind-blowing to me.
Ton of fans from Brazil.
Yeah,
I get messages.
there's a lot of fans from
Shout out my
Brazil.
fans
There's something
from
about
Brazil.
people from Brazil. They love to make their presence known. It's crazy.
They always tell me, they always end their message with, "I'm in Brazil," and
They sent the flag too.
They are so friendly. I love every single person from Brazil. I love you guys.
Yeah, there's so many Portuguese fans out there. We love it, or they're typing in that language and everything. But that was definitely my favorite moment, is seeing his reaction, because it's like I'm watching this huge life-changing moment happen to him right in front of my own eyes, and it just brings so much joy to me, because I love him so much, because I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him. I've been telling everybody all weekend about it. I'm just so happy for him. Like, this is something he's always wanted to do for his entire life, to play a game and like stir the pot and like plot and scheme, you know. Definitely the saddest part was obviously him getting blocked. I knew it was coming, you know. I was like, we've been new. Like I didn't know the path it took to get there and everything. A lot of people, I will say, I'm going to bring this up, him and Yuling's flirting. That did not bother me. I thought it was going to, I'll be honest, because for one of the first things he told me when he got back, he was like, I had like a showman's in there.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
In there. And I'm like, what? But at the same time, it's like, you know, he's playing for the money, and I know him and I trust him. I know that he's thinking about me, and also I have main character syndrome, and I'm just like, he's like, I mention you a lot on there, and I'm like, good. But that was definitely very funny and awkward to watch back.
We had a good laugh.
Yeah, I was cracking up the entire time. I get so many messages being like, he was so disrespectful to you as a boyfriend for flirting, and I'm saying that's my reaction too. I'm like, it's a game, it's not real.
It wasn't
like,
me.
People it's a game, like it's all fake.
It's amazing to me, and we do not need to go off into this too much, but like how much people think that they are allowed to interject themselves into the dynamics of someone else's relationship. Like, clearly the two of you had this conversation before you left, of like,
we mentioned it on the show too. It's not like you need to listen to podcasts.
I told him before he left, I'm like, if it's going to help you further your game and it's going to be a benefit to you, then flirt, do whatever you need to do. Like, I don't care.
Plus,
like,
he's sending like half nudes of some random dude. It's not him.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, like, he's in the apartment the entire time. It's not like he's like physically with them
he's
either.
Sneaking out and knocking on Yuling's door.
It's not like they're on Survivor and they're cuddling at night or anything like that. No, but like, but it was definitely very funny to watch back. I'm just like, oh God, you're very awkward at it, because and you can feel that he was uncomfortable doing it too. So
we all were.
Like,
don't worry.
I was uncomfortable watching it. I mean, I was laughing the entire time, but it just blows my mind that people think they know everything about our relationship, and they have the audacity to tell me about it. And I'm like, okay.
And people will be like, how disrespectful to Yuling. And I was like, guys, one, what show are you watching? And two, Yuling and I are very good friends.
Like, we care.
We've had a great laugh about it all. It also was months ago. It's not like, that's what I don't understand. Like, what show are you watching if that's like what you're going to draw like a moral line?
And also, you could tell from her end of things, like, she was clearly just doing it for fun. She had no strategy behind it. She just wanted to start some like
it's
random.
It's not a Nick seeing Sophia and he's heartbroken.
Like I mean, like her just sending the dog emoji, like
it's funny. It's really funny. Yeah, like, it's classic.
You know, like she knew what she was doing for the entertainment and everything. Like,
it helped her too. I rated her high. It worked.
And it helped her pick you for the
So
what twist was it?
So when her and Frank are, this is funny. So there's the data breach where I'm not sure who it is that's going to save me. I was very happy Rachel did, but we had only really had one conversation, and you know, we had some back and forths. I voted her in the Spice Girls. She really roasted me, and so the fact that she saved me like just meant the world to me and solidified us. And I assumed me and Yuling were so tight, and so it was Frank and Yuling as influencers, and they get to save someone. And I was like, dang. I was like, Yuling is probably going to save Rachel again first. And then when Frank saved Rachel, I was like, oh, it's me. I'm next. I was like, it's got to be me. And so when she saved Brew, I was gobsmacked. I was because the last I saw, they were fighting in the Good Morning Circle chat.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I didn't know they had made up. So her saving Brew, I was absolutely floored. I was like, I don't know what's going on in this game at all.
But then that also would have solidified you that she had a conversation with him, and that
but I guess I didn't know what the conversation was.
Yeah.
It was that good that she ended up trusting him again. I guess I'm a different player. Like if someone's gonna call me out in the public chat, you're not getting safety from me. I guess first at least. You know what I mean?
That is some
Absolutely.
people's gameplay.
Yuling, and I've talked about this with Yuling. Yuling's a very much a person of the moment. You know what I mean? And so she's in her mind at that moment making the best and most optimal decision. You know, past decisions are behind her. So there is something to be said about that. I wish I had some of that sometimes. You know what I mean? But I think she embodies that, especially with the game she played. But so yeah, that one where she saved me last and it ends up being either Everson or John. I started writing my plea before she even saved me. I was like, because as soon as she saved Brew, I was like, oh well, she's not saving me. I was like, I had the situation wrong. I was like, I didn't know what was going on. So she does save me, and that's what you see me. I like dropped to the ground, and people were like, "Why were you surprised she saved you?" I was like, "Because I had no idea what was going on in that moment."
And also, he has a type because she's really short. She's 4'6", 4'6". So like, I'm a short person too. So like, yeah, I was like, you have a type out there.
I will say there's a moment where Alex is like kind of like awkward in the corner and he was like mentioning you. I was like, it's so funny, it's so cute. But also I think about it and I'm like, you know, when you're in that game, there's odds that anybody you're talking to is a catfish. So that's like it really
like, what if it was another dude or something?
I was just like, I know this is another catfish too. I was like, I'm not breaking any hearts, I don't think.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because in my mind I'm like, well, if I'm flirting with someone, odds are they might not even be who I think they are, or they might not think who I am.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? And I just wish, like, I think people who watch sometimes, especially a little bit more on like the casual side, I'm using like Big Brother or Survivor terminology for something that's like everyone listens to the same thing, but I feel like they kind of feel like they feel the person's emotion rather than looking at like the strategic intent behind it. And so to me, I'm like, oh, these two are flirting. It's like not serious. Plus, Yuling is like a fun spirited, like you could just.
And she was flirting with Brew and Alyssa earlier. Yeah. Like no one was mad at them.
She's like flirting with anything, like her stove, whatever. Yeah. Like it was fine.
So yeah, I took it. I like the way I viewed it was very much more lighthearted, or I just felt like I was invading someone's conversation. I didn't have to like, oh no,
I was definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So sure. I do want to ask you about a specific situation. How was meeting Brew after that? Because like for me, when he left you, I was like bye, good luck, fuck you, but good luck. Like I was like laughing hysterically, but I like because I feel like that would have been like a joke. Like I am rooting for you, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind just like never seeing you again because you just cost me my game. Like what was that situation like? Was that tense? What did it get better? Like how was all of it?
Yeah. Oh, so I mean,
I'm not defending Brew, by the way.
No. You're good.
I feel like I'm sure you've had so many people be like, "Excuse me, Brew is America's sweetheart," and so for you to do that,
gracious.
It's his fans are dedicated fans, is what I will say.
Yeah. They're very loyal fan base.
They are very dedicated and lovely.
3.2 of them.
Okay, I instantly when I see Brew's getting blocked, I cheer. I'm excited because in that moment very much assume it's going to be me. After the portrait modes and just the general tone, I could tell I was on thin ice, if that makes sense. And so in my mind, this rating very much was like going to be me. The last one rated. Carol was 8th. I was 7th, the one before. And as we've seen, the ratings don't fluctuate a ton in this apartment building anymore. And so I, in my mind, was very, very confident that was going to be me. So in that moment, there's like, you know, the adrenaline of like, oh my God, I did that. I'm in the final 6 now. I was like, okay. And then instantly it's like, oh, he's going to come see me. And I need to decide if I think he's going to try to like really throw me under the bus with a goodbye message or what? And so in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna tell him, that I wasn't loyal. I was gonna tell him, that. And I think as I started just kind of telling him what was the general sense of it all, it just started flowing more and more. I was like, he deserves to know like exactly how he got here, because he's probably a little confused and I've been a bit of a dickhead. So he owes an explanation, and he was definitely mad. He was definitely upset. He because of the golf thing really, really thought I was Nathan. And he was definitely upset in the moment, but by the end of the conversation, and as weird as it sounds, I really showed him my board and I walked him through that, and he really liked a lot of it. He agreed with some of it. He was like, oh, I didn't see this. Or he's like, you missed this. And I think once I like warmed him up to the fact that like him going was not like a fluke, like it took a lot of like planning and shit for me to do. I think he kind of understood and respected it a little more. Me and Brew are friends now. There's no bad blood. Yeah, we just hung out with him and his girlfriend all weekend. Like very great. Yeah, so like there's no bad blood. He understands it's a game. He like
some of his fans don't.
So they very much are like Brew, I think in that moment is like mad. I don't know, he wants to see me win, but I think he definitely respected, all that I had put in. And I do think he would have been happy if I won. I genuinely think, because when I show up to the finale, he doesn't know I've been blocked right after him. He seemed upset. I could say in that moment, he seemed shocked and upset that I followed him. And, that's the big joke between him now. And I was like, I did all of that for nothing. I walked out of you. I walked out an hour behind you did. Like, it's so, we have a sense of humor about it now. And it's, I did what I did, and I don't regret it, but no, it wasn't, I guess, the right move per se. It felt like the right move. I mean, I don't know. It got me around further.
We're not knocking the move at all. I was more.
I definitely not against the move. I'll tell you that.
Neither of us knocked that move. I more was just like the emotional component of it.
It was very emotional. I really struggled to like I really felt like I owed him an explanation, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard in that moment to like tell the guy like, hey, I'm really sorry. I also do not know he is TikTok famous. For all I know, he really needs this money like I do. You know what I mean? So it was very hard in that moment, like to tell him, but I felt like I owed it to him. And I was like, if I was in the reverse situation, would I want to watch it all back on TV, or would I rather hear about it right here and now?
Yeah. Okay. Is it safe to say that Brew doesn't have many Brazilian fans? Because like,
there's a lot of Brazilians out there. I'm sure he's got a ton of Brazilian fans.
If you have a lot of Brazilian fans, then none of them can be fans of Brew. It just doesn't exactly work out. I
do think there are people. There are some of Brew's fans that are like, man, messed up what you did to Brew, but I get it. Like it's very. Those are the DMs and like comments that I'll get that are like very weird. Where like, at one point or another, they were very angry with me, but by the end of their sentence, they're like, can't blame you though. Or like, so like very like, those are the ones I'm like, that was big of you to admit, I think. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's very interesting.
With a question mark.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that part was not surprising to me, just because I know him and I know his character and I know he's a good guy at heart. Like I knew deep down inside you felt you owed Brew the truth, and
I just thought it could hurt my game. I didn't know I would, there'd be another blocking so soon. I thought we might see his goodbye message first. Yeah. And he's like, there's the biggest snake we've ever seen in the house. Watch out for him. I don't know.
This could have been.
I'm sure he talked about me and they just didn't show it since it was not there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they probably cut it.
That goodbye interview is pretty long that they do.
Oh, okay.
It's not like super long, but like I definitely said a lot of stuff that didn't get aired.
Got it.
Same with my video too. Like I said so many things that
it was long. Her video. They showed it to me twice. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, after the first one, because the first one I'm just like sobbing, and they were like, do you want to watch it again? And I was like, yes, please, so much, so badly. And that's when you hear me. I'm just like, I just want to stare at her face. I'm good. I know where the thing is. Thank you.
Go ahead, Josie.
I was gonna say and this is like more towards you, Nikki. I loved how like supportive you are. like I remember seeing your tweet on my timeline, but at that point I hadn't registered that the circle was happening.
Yeah.
And I think it's your quote tweet, like your pin tweet on your account, where you're like, if you think I'm gonna be that annoying girlfriend constantly standing and supporting my boyfriend, then you're absolutely correct. And I, at that point, I hadn't watched the show. I hadn't registered. I was like, oh, maybe this is another org player.
That's very fair.
It didn't register to me what was happening, like the show was happening.
You're like,
and
this
I thought,
is an LRG tweet.
I'm like, you know what? I've been there. I've supported my boyfriend through games, and
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
well, ex-boyfriend now, but like,
No
I've
more
been there
support.
before.
Yeah, no more support.
I mean, a part of me was like, because I actually, everyone who has played the circle prior, I looked up if they had significant others during filming or like during the airing. And if they did, I would look through their social media channels. And to my surprise, none of them ever posted anything about like, I don't know, like
I
just
mean,
thought
they have deleted it now. We don't know back in the moment.
I don't know why you would delete something like that, but like I just think about like he's my favorite person in the entire world. I was telling my coworkers and my boss like as if it was a fun fact about myself. Like, oh my god, my boyfriend's on the circle. You know, like go watch it right now. Like, have you watched the episodes yet? And you know, all that stuff. So I was like, one, it's going to get more people to watch it. And and because I was posting about it so much on Twitter and on Instagram too, because my audience on Twitter and Instagram are very different, but I had a ton of people from high school, college, I haven't spoken to in years who would reply to my stories or message me. And they're like, I'm watching The Circle right now because of you posting about it. I had no idea your boyfriend was on it. That's so cool. Or like if they get to my video and I'm just like, keep watching, get to the video message. But a lot of people really loved that. So I'm like, I say to Alex, I humanized you a little bit.
That's so true. She softened me up. I was like stone cold, ice hard out there. And then like you bring up Nikki and I'm just like, oh. So I mean, I'm sure they definitely saw a different side.
I knew if he was willing to cry on an international streaming service because he saw my face, he loves me. So yeah. And like I had so many people that messaged me. They're like, I cried during your video, or like it was so sweet and that kind of thing.
I'm so sorry I coughed.
No, I'm
laughing that you ripped the headphone out of her ear.
That was her fear earlier too. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, no, it was super fun to film. And actually, just to put into context, I did get emotional during the video because I actually did cry, but they didn't air that part because I was 2 days away from running that marathon and I was already freaking out about it. And like he helped me so much during my training, like and motivated me, and just to not have him like, because I couldn't text him, he didn't have his phone for 2 weeks. So it was really hard to not have to talk to him about like, oh my god, I'm so nervous, or like what if I throw up, what if, you know, I don't know, like I never ran a marathon before, and a lot of people have never ran a marathon, but he was so helpful for my training. And then for him to just, you know, disappear, it was really hard, and I was just like very nervous during the entire thing. But filming the video was really great because I knew that like I'm going to be bringing a lot of comfort to him in that moment. And it was really great. I loved it. But I was surprised that there was a lot of really good stuff that I felt like would have been good for TV, and they did not air it. Whatever. I don't remember what I said specifically. It was all a blur.
It was nice because to me out there, she was very much a big part of my whole journey and experience. So it's nice that actually did get to come through on that's nice. It did come through on the TV screen.
Yeah. And it was a good transition because they went from Alex to Trevor right afterwards, and he's already sobbing. He was already sobbing, and like you just see like the two guys on the show, like they're playing it for their significant others, their families. Like Trevor has 2 little girls, and you know he only went out there and you could tell he missed them so much. And Delisa, who was a former winner, and it's like it was really beautiful to see that transition of the video message portion of the show.
Nikki, I have to say that if I was you, I would have, and I actually I would podcast it earlier with Katie, that even if it was like her, I would have like 8 alt accounts going. Like I would be throwing punches left, right, center. Anybody who was insulting my friend, my family, like
the times I've had to pull. I'm like, we're not going to tweet that, unfortunately.
I would these Twitter fingers, these thumbs would be
They go
doing
hard.
some work. They would.
Yeah, no, I had some thoughts, but like I just a really good therapy thing I learned in therapy was like if I see something online, I pull up a Word document, I write down what I would reply, and then I delete it, and then I just feel a lot better.
I do that. I just do it in my drafts. Like I'll save it in drafts, and then I look back and I'm like, I don't even know why I was saying that, so I delete it.
Yeah,
I think that's very therapeutic. So I get that, but there was one tweet that you tweeted, and I think it's my favorite thing that has happened all season. And you were like, "You think Alex is bad?
Yep.
Just imagine me." And I was like, you know what? Same. That is that's so good. Yes. And that energy is exactly what I like. I think that's the energy that I personally just love and relate to, because I feel like all of us super fans are like, this is nothing. Like Alex is just playing a game. Like I would have,
I was tame compared to some people.
Oh my God. Like, I mean,
I'm not trying to downplay what I did, but I definitely, the one thing, and maybe this is the saving grace of my reputation, so maybe I shouldn't even bring it up. Like, they never asked us, what would you do with the $150,000?
They always ask that every season.
I'll be honest, I was ready to make up the most, the biggest sob story I could if I, given the opportunity. So maybe it's glad they never, and I thought I like missed it. I was like, maybe they did it before the final ranking, and they were like, no, they never asked us. I was like, that's so weird. I was like, maybe they knew I was going to make up like a horrendous lie or something.
Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, I think a lot of people forget that they're playing for money, like $150,000.
I wanted to win.
Like I like everyone is worthy of, or everyone is deserving of that money as much as the next person. So like if you get this opportunity, that's all that's going to be on my mind is the money. I don't care what happens as long as it gets me far and strategy wise. And then there are these online trolls who are like, he's mean. Like, what?
Those ones are fine.
I know. I'm being tame here, but like,
no, and like I said, it's been a lot better. In all honesty, it really, maybe getting blocked. There's that sense of like, okay, you did well, but you didn't.
It brings a sense of like humility to you in a way.
Yes, that's probably what it is. In all honesty, I think getting blocked because I can tell the people who are like mid watching it when they're like reaching out to me because they're the ones that are like infuriated. So, and I'm not getting as much of that anymore. And so in all honesty, I've gotten a lot more positive now that it's all concluded. Like people like, you brought like something to the show that we've never seen. And that's part of what I wanted to do. Like, I want to go out there and do wild and crazy historic things.
I have friends currently messaging me being like, okay, I like him 10 times more than I did from watching him on the show, from watching this right now. So you're winning people over. I'm giving Nikki all the credit.
Yeah, it's her. She humanizes me. I mean, are there questions? We could answer some questions now.
Yeah, we have some in the comments of the YouTube chat. So we kind of talked about like how you got cast in the billion applications, but I do have a follow-up. Did you originally apply as a catfish or did you apply as yourself?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Great question. So on the application, they say, would you catfish or would you play yourself? And if you're going to catfish, who and why? And I said, if I went into the circle, I'm going to be doing a ton of lying no matter what. I'll play myself. I'll play a catfish. I'll do whatever.
I'll play a literal catfish. I will be an animal.
You don't need to make me a human. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I like exaggerated. I went off. I was like, I'll play anyone, anything. Like, you could pick an old lady and I'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
I'll be dog.
Yeah, exactly. Cookie is the one dictating now. No, I really did. And I think they probably enjoyed that sort of like gusto. As I was like, obviously I would rather catfish. I think that's more fun. But shit, if I play myself, I'm lying about a lot of stuff anyway. So it's like I wouldn't tell them I was a banker or this. Like there was so much I was gonna change. I was like, I might as well be a catfish at that point.
Yeah. Would you suggest to people who are applying to apply as a catfish over themselves or as themselves?
I guarantee they get less catfish applications.
Yeah.
So that is probably something that would help. And I would say if you are going to apply and you want to do a catfish, the big reason of it is like the why. It's not good enough to just be like, I want to, it'll be fun. I had to be like, I want to play a dumb 22-year-old bro because in real life, my personality exudes like strategic, like
Mhm.
nosy,
Yeah.
know-it-all. And
Mhm.
so they were like, oh, I love that reason. They were like, because other times they're like, I want to play the hot guy because hot guys are popular online.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going for. And so they really like the why as to why you want to catfish.
That's some really good insight. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Good advice too.
Yeah.
We have another question. So, what was the most surprising or interesting part of being on the show that was not related to the game? So, the apartment, getting groceries,
Yeah.
with you, Link. I'm just kidding about the last part, but
So they they bring you groceries. You literally just make a grocery list, and
cool.
they just bring it to your door. They'll do your laundry that way too. You just leave it outside your door. I'm trying to think.
Must be tough coming home from that of like,
Right?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I gotta do this myself now.
So there's a quarantine period too where I'm like in hiding, and the same deal as I can't leave. So they bring me my groceries, and so I just had Netflix and like a burner cell phone with a Candy Crush, and I played like 1,000 or some levels, and so until I went into the game, and so it was kind of hard coming back because like they drive you everywhere, they do your groceries, you don't have a schedule, especially in hiding. Like in the game, it's a much more structured, but like in hiding, I was just like a paid chill vacation. It was really wild. I would say probably the most interesting thing, not game related, is that on my like apartment floor, you have like an auxiliary apartment that doesn't have cameras. And so like there was a couple of things they didn't let me take into the apartment. And so I just kept it all in there. And there was like one day I was like, I need like some fresh air. And they let me go on the balcony there. Like, so as much as they love to portray it, you're not like locked in that apartment. Like I was able to.
Goodness.
Yeah. So that was one thing that was like surprising in a good way is I did have that auxiliary room if I was like, I'm spinning out of control here.
I've read so many subreddit posts of like every single season, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this apartment. That's so cool. Like I had no idea.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
And
no. Like
I had a blanket that I very much would have needed because my apartment was cold, and they were like, "It doesn't match the art."
Oh my
style.
god!
And I was like,
No.
I was like, Unfortunately, I was like, I totally get it though. It was like bright red, and like my apartment's like all this dark, deep blues and browns.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I get it. And so that's like that. And I had like some comic books. They were like just branding stuff we can't have on camera. I was like, that makes sense. So yeah, just all stuff I kept there.
Yeah, when he got back, all his toiletries had like duct tape over the.
They can't have the brands on.
It was kind of funny.
They were in England. I don't know if they know what Tums are because they had like 2-3 people debate over whether I could bring my Tums in, and I was just like, it's just for heartburn. I was like, they were like, why didn't you tell us you had medication? I was like, it's not. I was like, it's not medication in the slightest. I was like, it's literally just for it's over the counter.
I know they have it because I have like been with people in the UK who use it. So
I had like 2-3 people like deciding if I could take it in or not, and I was like, look, I don't need it. Leave it if it's gonna cause a problem. It's fine.
Yeah. That's funny. And then for our next question, was there anything about your experience that you want people to know, but you don't get asked about? And Nikki, I think this is a relevant question for you too, because there's not as many people as there are on the circle or have been on the circle, there's even less significant others of people who have been on the circle. So like
absolutely,
your experience right now, I think is, I mean, no offense, Alex, is like almost more unique than his because I mean, how often do we really get to hear besides from like the videos or whatever, or in this case, Trevor, because Delisa was on, like, I'm like pumped that you're here too and like giving us your insight on it. So I definitely want to know your answer to this.
You can go first.
I will say that maybe some people already knew about this, but I was one of Alex's emergency contacts while he was gone. And so every single day when he was in the game, someone from production texted me saying he's all like just saying he's
alive.
He's alive. He's alive and well.
Good.
Obviously, they didn't say like what was going on in the game, but they would send like actually like the messages. Now that I'm looking back,
they're very circle. They're
very circle. There's a lot of emojis. There's a lot of hashtags, and I would just reply back being like, "Yay, glad to hear that."
Ready for this though? The person who is texting, I know her well at this point. Her name's Beth.
Oh, we met her over the weekend.
That's how Beth talks via text. She's just full circle all the time now. I love Beth so much. So yeah, but that is great. Nice. Like she gives Nikki some updates as I'm in there, and so I get to, I don't get to know what's going on, but I'm like, is Nikki good, Beth? She's like, yeah, she's doing well.
Yeah, no, because like, and then actually, after I finished the marathon, I knew the game was close to ending because he was supposed to fly back like 2-3 days later after the race. And my first thing I did was after I finished the marathon, I texted production and I said, I know you probably can't do anything about this now, but can you just, if you can you tell him I finished it? This is my time. And this is how I did, how I feel. And I sent them like a photo of me, like, with that cape that they give you at the end of all those races and everything. Yeah. So I was very, I was very happy about like doing that, but they replied being like, okay, thanks, congratulations, that kind of stuff. But it was really nice.
What was your marathon time?
It was 5:45, so it was a little slow, but
it's faster than I can do it.
It's better than me. I've never ran.
Finishing it. It's not about winning it. I cannot tell you how many people told me during when I was training, being like, "Are you gonna win?" And I'm like, "No, the point is to finish it, not to win."
No, the goal is to beat Oprah is everything. I don't know if you heard that in your training, but I've heard a lot of people in their marathon training be like, as long as I beat Oprah Winfrey's marathon time, I'm happy. I don't know what it is, but I've heard that from multiple people training. Funny. So
I never heard that before in my life, but
really?
I will confidently say I have not ran since.
Well, I'll just say this. I have not ran at all. So honestly, hats off to you.
I don't know if I could drive a marathon in that time. So
I was in your position 5 years ago, but quarantine and COVID really got me thinking about like what I really wanted to do with my life, because a lot of things were happening in the world, and it also, was an excuse to go outside, kept me sane, blah, blah, blah. It was a personal journey for me. So like it was a long time coming. So the fact that the fact that he wasn't there hurt and it sucked, but it was a journey I started on my own and I ended it on my own. So it was like a poetic finish.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Oh gosh.
Congratulations. Like hats off to you. I'm really curious. Did Beth ever one point say #circle family? I just
don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think it broke into her lexicon.
I don't think so, but it was just fun to like at least have someone daily just say
I always tried to say circle familia. It's so hard because when others are saying it, I definitely went in with the mindset. I was like, I'm not gonna be that guy.
I said that too to Joe.
So
we
hard.
were talking about it.
It's so hard when you go in there and everyone's doing it to not just be like, love you all so much. Circle familia for life. Never gonna forget you guys. Like it's hard not to do that because when everyone else is, you're just like, yeah,
you go with the crowd. Yeah, no, we had this debate. I was like, Karen, you would do it.
I was like, absolutely not. I don't tell. I tell like my dog, my boyfriend, and the Boston Red Sox that I love them. No one else. That's it. So
that's good.
I mean, I'm the same way too. I feel like if I was in there, I'd be like,
like
bullshit.
You guys.
Yes.
Come on, we don't all love each
the
other.
Facial expression,
at the end of it, we are.
Exactly. Yes. That facial expression alone.
Yeah, like in the middle of it, you just don't know how everybody's actually feeling about everybody.
But you know what I will say? It is welcoming. We're all in a very like weird and unique situation. Yeah. We were all just in hiding for X amount of time. And now we're only communicating to people via text message for like a large sum of money. So when someone does like reach out to you with those like positive vibes, it is a bit reassuring. You're like, oh, I have friends here. I'm not like a nobody.
And also like in my video, I had to re-record a bunch of things a couple times because I kept calling him Alex and they're like, you have to call him Nathan. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I forgot he's Nathan. But then Alex made a point in the show. He was like, I get called Nathan all the time, but I'm Alex. And so I thought that one little moment was really sweet to put in there because I forget about that too. Like, they're calling him Nathan all the time.
Yeah, everyone does, even the cast and crew, because they don't want anyone accidentally hearing the name Alex. Okay. And so as long as I'm there, I'm Nathan. Yeah. That's what I go by. Like, I'm sure there's people on the crew that didn't even know my real name. You know what I mean? Like they only referred to me as Nathan out there because they can't accidentally ever have someone being like I say on a microphone, like, oh, I'm walking Nathan to the hot tub. Or they can't have them say like, I'm walking Alex to the hot tub because they'll be like, who the fuck's Alex?
Oh,
I think something like that happened on a UK season where like there was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I read it. No one told me it. I read it.
Okay,
No. You didn't tell me it. I think I read it on Reddit. I mean, I guess pun intended.
Carrie loves Reddit.
I get so much information from there.
I used to love Reddit.
No, you have people who will like
into it.
listen to the podcast that like then we'll just kind of like list it off, so you don't have to. it's funny,
Yeah.
as someone who podcasts like 4 times a week, I can't listen for shit. So it's much easier for me to like, it's because I've had so many concussions, okay? So like it's much easier for me to like read things off. So it's nice because it's just like all condensed in one
Yeah.
place. But no, I think I had read something that like one of them saw a name that like they're like, who's this on like the schedule for like being in the hot tub upstairs or in the gym or
Something like that.
whatever.
Yeah, and they're
And
like, I don't know who that is.
and that let them know like they saw other names, so they were kind of like able to deduce like, oh, this person must be a catfish or whatever. So that makes sense to me. You weren't able to hear your actual name for the whole time you were in there because of previous faux pas. I don't know if
Yeah.
you can answer this. So if you can't, just tell me.
Sure.
Are the Netflix, because Josie and I talked about this, the Netflix circle people the same as the UK circle people in terms of like producers, all that stuff?
Yeah, it's Studio Lambert. So while they have some additional Netflix people there, there was really only a couple of Americans. The rest of them are Studio Lambert originals. Like the people I worked with were all like from season 1 of US UK. Like they've been there since the jump. So I'm sure not everyone, but a lot of them, are still the people that worked on the UK show. And so that's also what's nice is like the people working on the show, like they just like love the show. And
that's
so
cool.
And that's what you want to hear. And so like I know sometimes people will always like crap on production of different shows, like are they even fans? And like that is one thing I will defend for the life of me. Like the people who make The Circle are 100% fans of the show.
I love to hear that.
That's dope. Yeah, I
I
think
don't
it's
know
important.
Alex got to answer that question. Was this one?
Let's see.
Did you
Oh,
did you answer it?
We answered it with a bunch of different things. No, you're good.
We talked about like 5 things since then, so I
it was-
couldn't remember. I told you I can't listen, so
I can't listen.
I do listen, I swear. We had one more. Okay, I think this might be a familiar face to you, Naomi.
Oh, Naomi. Okay.
Yes,
what was the weirdest element of production you didn't expect? Let's see. The weirdest element of production that I didn't expect was
I can't contribute. I wasn't there.
Is it that you were texting with
Beth?
I still didn't feel like I was there or anything, but it was just nice to hear from them, you know, being like, oh, he's good.
What is the weirdest thing? This is a good question because obviously there's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. So what I really liked is I assume most people at this point know I'm not actually talking to like the world's most sophisticated AI when I'm typing out my messages. Yeah, see,
my whole experience with this is based on a lie.
So
I'm done.
it's a
I'm
sham.
leaving the chat.
There is a person you're talking with, and so what I really enjoyed is they are a producer per se, but they only know what's going on in my apartment. They don't see or talk to anyone else from any other apartment.
They're Team
so,
Nathan.
So they're Team Nathan. So like they can not help per se, but like if like I'm talking my messages out loud, it's nice to know they're not like guiding me, if that makes sense.
And also the fact that there's like no bias in terms of
directing
the storyline. It's happening naturally.
I guess it's not really weird, but it was something I really appreciated. And it wasn't something I would have even thought about until I was in that moment where I was like, oh, it's so nice to know that they don't know anything. Cause you know, they'll ask you questions sometimes. Do you think this person's a catfish? And my like paranoid personality would have been like, well, they know if they're a catfish or not. Like, are they asking me to? So like, no, if they ask you questions or like, I'm just talking, it's like all genuine. Like they don't know what's going on either.
That's cool. I didn't know that either. That's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until he told me. I was like, it makes sense too, because it's what's fair.
I'm curious, now that you talk about that, are you always just walking around your apartment talking out loud, like projecting everything?
Yeah. And so some people said they struggled with that, but for me, I'll be honest, I had no problem.
I'm the same way. I talk to myself all the time. So
once I got on a roll of it, like maybe at first I forced myself a little because you know you're on TV and you're just doing it. But like once I got into a roll of it, I didn't think twice about it. I just was talking out loud. And in all honesty, that's why I like thank the editors is like, where you see like me with the golf question, I like swing the complete opposite way and I'll verbalize it sometimes. I'll be like, is everyone playing me? Is everyone And so like, I'm so glad they left out like some very like delusional like things that I would mention like once offhandedly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give the more content you give the editors, the better.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I just talked out loud and it was never difficult for me.
I mean, it seems like the perfect show for someone who just talks to themselves all the time, which is me too.
No, my like ultimate show, obviously I'm Canadian, so I always root for Big Brother Canada. But I'm like, I would just love to be in the circle, because in Big Brother Canada, you kind of have to like not speak. You can speak to camera and feeds or whatever, but like outside of that, whereas the circle, you're in your own apartment, so you can just
that's all it is. Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good way to process things a little bit better.
100%.
I love that idea of that. Just like talking out loud and just like going.
In the Big Brother house, I don't know I'm able to like talk out my thoughts and maybe be like, it's time to switch from like Team Brew to Team Frank. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe I can see that sort of thing in the Big Brother house possibly, but like it might be a lot more hard to act on or like actually like come to fruition. Whereas like I've had time a couple days to like talk out what I want to do, how I maybe want to do it. And then eventually I was like, maybe I don't need to do it. But then I was like, okay, no, Brew's not getting as high of ratings as I would have hoped. So it's time to, if I can't beat them, join them.
Well, we have taken an hour and 40 minutes of your time, and I do not know if you want to be giving much more of that to us, but we want to say thank you. So
thank you so much.
I love this. This was so much fun. Thank you both for your time. Yeah. We appreciate your candor and like it was great. I really enjoyed it. Something we do at the end is we plug our online shit. So I even made you guys a banner.
Stop. That's too nice.
Listen, I treat my guests like royalty. So
like alert family.
Yeah, we are #alert familia here. Shout out to the Brazilians, especially. You are now my family too.
A billion Brazilians.
Yes. A billion Brazilians. That's great. Yeah, I'm A Wild Briz on all platforms: Twitter, Instagram. I don't really use TikTok, but if you want to follow me there, you can. But also on Twitch. That's you can find me doing all sorts of shenanigans there. I also have a podcast called Two Dudes Watch Cartoons. It's very self-explanatory. It's just me and my good buddy, and we just watch animated movies and TV shows. And so, if any of that tickles your fancy, go ahead and give us a listen sometime.
Is that on podcast platforms?
Oh, you can find it on any podcast platform: Apple, Spotify, Anchor. We got them all.
Two Dudes Watch Cartoons.
Yeah. Got it. Two Dudes
That's a good title.
Cartoons. I like it. Title
I didn't come up with it. Yeah, it was my buddy. He came up with the title, and I was like, I love it. It's perfect. He's like, it's not too long. I was like, no. That's why it's good.
It flows well.
Yeah.
And then Nikki, tell the people where you're at.
Nikki the Narwhal. It's self-explanatory, but Nikki spelled Nikki, and that is the correct way to spell my name, Nikki. Nikki the Narwhal, and Nikki the Narwhal on all platforms. I post a lot on TikTok, so if you want to follow me on there. A lot of comedy videos, like point of view, perspective, stuff like that. Twitter is probably my biggest, like, the love.
I love talking shit.
I love Twitter. Absolutely. Instagram, I'm on it, but I don't really post too much. But I mean, I post a lot on stories, mainly because Alex was my main source of content for a while, but not so much anymore. So yeah, Nikki the Narwhal on all platforms. And that's it. I don't have a podcast or anything. So.
I mean, you're welcome to join us anytime. So
I would love to. I absolutely. I watch a ton of TV.
I was gonna say, we watch a ton of reality.
So if you need some,
we just had auditions, but we can maybe have you skip the process. So
I was scrolling through a bunch of your guys' stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start listening. I was like, I watch all these shows here. So
you mean you want to be guests on the podcast?
Eventually, we will work it out. We can definitely do that.
I
did want to thank you guys, though. No, like your coverage last week, I made the joke off air beforehand, but like I literally was just coming on here this week to be like, you guys were 100% right. Like it could have been like a 5-minute podcast in all honesty. Like your guys' coverage was really good and I really enjoyed it. And that's what prompted us to reach out. Plus, you guys asked so nicely. So no, we had a blast though. And it was nice. We got to do this together because we were in this experience together. So,
well, it was funny because I was DMing you, Alex, and Josie was DMing Nikki.
Yeah, I know. We were talking at the same time.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that.
So when Josie was telling me that you guys were DMing, I said to her, I'm like, I'm going to tell Alex that we won't allow him on the podcast without Nikki. And she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I already sent it. So like we refuse to talk to you without Nikki. So we are
Great.
So thankful that you did this
Thank
with
you.
us.
For real.
Yeah.
We'll do a condensed version of our ending here. You should follow us on Twitch and on Twitter and on YouTube. I have to find the brand thing. Give me a second. It's not like I haven't done this 1,000 times before. But we are Silent Podcast on Twitch and YouTube, Silent_podcast on Twitter. We are on all of your podcasting platforms. So if you aren't rating and subscribing us 5 stars, we don't accept 4 below. We only accept 5 over here at
5 only.
Silent Podcast.
I'm a pro at rating, so I think I can figure that out.
What a joke to end this on. That was perfect. Okay. Thank you again so much for being here. We're here on behalf of Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. We will catch you next time. Until then, enjoy whatever time, day, week it is. We hope it's going great. And thanks again for listening.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.